so guys, I'm gonna do a demo today on Dylan. Dylan's gonna tell you guys what he wants, and then we're gonna have a little dialogue about it. And then while cutting him, I'm gonna have somebody, a volunteer, come up on stage with me to do the demonstration. So I wanna get started with that. So the first thing is if you guys notice the way I put the neck strip on him, it's very, very wide. I didn't twist it in the back. I'm always gonna repeat this so that you guys are always getting this. I'm just crossing over top of it and tucking the top. Now that the top is tucked, I have the ability to lock this in. Once I place my chair cloth on him, I'm protecting it so it doesn't touch his skin. Clip this away, and then I can roll this over top of the cloth, giving you optimal connection so that way we don't have any issues with this coming off. Now, if your client is getting up and getting out of the chair, chances are they start to move this and then it can slowly loosen up. But when you're tying it, you're creating little space and then touch the skin. And if you do that on boards, you could actually fail the exam. So let's let everybody know what you're getting today. Now, generally, if I was at the shop and I'm talking to my guests, a few things that I would be doing at this time would be sanitizing my tools while I'm talking to him. Because I want him to see. He's facing, this would be my mirror, right? So he's facing the mirror so he can look at himself and kind of give me a description of what he wants. At the same time, I'm sitting here and disinfecting. I already disinfected my stuff, so I don't have to do it now, but this is what I would be doing so that he could see I'm sanitizing my equipment, and at the same time, he could tell me what he's doing. So what would you like done?
I'm gonna do a mid-drop skin fade.
Okay.
And then blend it into the top, and I might take just dead ends, maybe a little bit more
Okay.
on the top.
So you want to keep the length that you have on top, but just kind of create a little bit of texture or just light trim on the top.
Yeah.
When was the last time you had the top trimmed?
Probably last week.
Okay.
Sonia touched it up.
Okay. How often do you get the top trimmed?
Like more than just the dead ends.
Yeah. If you didn't get it cut last week, when would you have gotten it cut?
Probably say every 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
In a month.
Okay, a month. So what that lets me know is about the approximate length that he would want on the top for the most part. But because he already got it trimmed last week, you probably don't want much trimmed at all.
Yeah.
Okay. But generally, you would probably want 1/4 of an inch taken off to maintain the length and the look that you have, because we know that hair grows 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch per month. So that's a question that's important. When was the last time you had a haircut, and what exactly do you do on a regular basis? And if I know how much when's the last time he had a haircut, especially the top trim, he said generally it's about a month, then I know I'm only taking about 1/4 of an inch off. I'm not taking much off at all. I want to maintain his look. Can we add a little bit of texture on top?
Sure.
Okay, so if I can go into this and do some interior cutting without compromising the overall look, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so what I want to do is create some versatility. How do you normally wear your hair?
Either like this, or I comb it up and over.
Over to the side, okay. How about a hard part?
No, I don't have a hard
No hard part, but you do section it off? Okay, so we'll section it, and then we'll do that. So I'll make sure that you get the look that you desire, but then I'll also create an alternative look for you so that way you can wear it like this and have a little bit more shape to it. Is that okay?
Yep.
All right, cool. So the thing he said is a mid-skin drop fade, right? When someone tells me the type of haircut, this is a person who cuts hair, so they kind of have an idea of some terminologies. You have to remember that most of the clients that you're going to cut don't have the same jargon that we do. They don't speak with the same language we speak. And so you coming with technical terms might not be the best scenario in a client consultation. You know, it's cool to throw a couple of them out there because then they know you know what you're talking about. But when someone gives me a name of a cut, depending on where they live, that same cut might be different where I live. Okay, so you have to determine what the overall look. A few ways to do that is photos, social media, driver's license, things like that. That's going to give you a better description of what it is that he wants. Now, here's another question I can ask him, which would help me to determine the overall look of this fade. When was the last time you had a haircut? Last week. And did you like the length and the height of the fade? Yeah. Okay. So because of that, I know that his haircuts, it doesn't really require a whole lot for me to do in order to get the job done. He wants this same look, but just a little bit tighter to the skin. So I'm not going to be cutting a whole lot off. Does that make sense? If his haircut was a month ago, I might have to try and figure out how tight he wants it. But if he's getting a cut very, very often, we're going to do two demonstrations today. This one, we're going to do it from beginning to end. And we're gonna section it off as if I'm restarting the entire fade. The other haircut is going to be similar to his, but we're going to do it because he comes every week. We're going to knock it out in a short amount of time. So for demonstration purposes, you're going to get the same haircut two different ways. And one you'll see this one will take a lot longer because I'm resetting the haircut. Now, if you have a customer who's coming every week, I don't recommend resetting the haircut. I don't. It's not my recommendation. If someone hasn't been there for a month, then you want to reset that haircut so it lays and grows the way you want it. And if you're getting them to come in every week to every 2 weeks, there's a system you put in place. Once you understand that system, it's easy to take that haircut down in no time and fade it right on out. So I'm going to do both demonstrations. So what I am going to do, how we determine where that fade is going to be either high or low is based off of the parietal ridge. The parietal ridge, what's that? Yeah, it's recording. He's recording right now. So, but you guys can take some videos and, Instagram stuff and send it our way and tag us and whatnot. That always helps. But the parietal ridge is determining where the shape of the haircut is. Just about every single haircut that you do, especially on men's cuts, the shape is determined by the parietal ridge. What I mean by that is when I place this comb at his ear, where his head begins to turn away from the comb is where his parietal ridge is. Okay? So his ridge is right here. Do you all see where that's starting to turn away? Turn that chair. That's going to be the midpoint of his fade. But he wants a medium to drop fade. So this haircut shape is out here. It's not here. Do you guys see that? So I'm not going to cut into the fade. I'm going to maintain this shape, but everything's going to come off of the parietal ridge. So because he wants a skin fade, I'm going to go ahead and, before I use my liners, let me create my first guide. I'm going to close it, levers all the way up, blades, the moving blade is going to be all the way to the bottom. You see that? So they're closest together. I'm going to go right at the parietal ridge or slightly below it. And I'm going to work my way to create my first guide, going down right below his occipital bone. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of room to work with. I'm not worried about this. I'm going to take that off in a second. What I'm focused on is the shape of this haircut. So one of the things that we want to focus mostly on, and I say it all the time, is LSD. Does anyone remember what LSD is? And I'm not talking about the drug. What's that? Length? Shape and direction. Very good. So we're focused on the length, the shape, and the direction of his haircut. We know that he's getting a drop skin fade. So the length is going to be determined by the bottom and the top. This is going to be skin. He doesn't want much cut off of this. So this length has to transition from here to skin. Okay? This is going to be skin down here. This is going to be the length. So the shape of that cut is going to follow that. You follow me? Okay. So that's going to determine the shape. Off of the parietal ridge is going to determine the shape, and the length is going to be skin. The direction of the cut is based on how we create shape in the front. So he's going to be combing this to the side with a soft part, meaning it's sectioned off, and he's going to put a little swoop in the front. But I'm going to also add some texture so he can wear his hair like this, and it looks more fashionable other than just some bedhead that he just threw his hat on or just kind of walked away. So that is my first guide. Again, I'm not worried about the bottom because the bottom is going to be removed. So I don't need to do that, but I'm going to show you. Most people spend a lot of time going back over and trying to. You don't have to. Here's my first guide. I'm going to leave that there. My second guide, I'm going to put a 1 on. When I put this 1 guard on, I am going to keep it closed. Sometimes you want it open, sometimes you want it closed. That's based on the hair texture. That's based on the density of the hair, because if his hair is really, really coarse, or it's a lot of hair in one space, it's going to need me to get it closer so that it appears closer. If it's not as dense and his hair is very fine and it doesn't have as much density, then I might not want it to be close because it's going to be too close. Okay? So those are things that you need to consider. In this case, his hair is pretty medium, pretty average with density. So I'm going to just go across and I'm going to create my second guide. And I'm going up about a finger in separation from my first guide. Do you guys see that? Do you see my bottom guide and you see my second guide? It's about a finger length across. I'm going straight across. I'm not going to drop this as much, and I'm going to explain to you why. I want you to look at this for a second. You guys see my separation? Does this appear to be lighter than this? This area right here. So let's look at this quadrant and this quadrant. This appears to be lighter. So partly because his head sticks out, he has muscle tissue right here. Smile for me. Okay. See how that sticks out? Do it again. You see that muscle? So chew. See how that muscle begins to flex? This muscle is sticking out. Because it's sticking out, it's going to appear to be lighter. Back here, the curve of his head is dipping in, so the hair is being pushed this way. Not only is it more dense, but it appears to be darker. This is where I cut it. Now let's take a look on this side. Without me even cutting it, can you tell that this is lighter than this? Okay, that's why I'm not going to put too much emphasis on the front here, but as I go back, I want to make sure that I'm creating my guideline, because what I have to create is the visual representation that it's even. I have to create what is an illusion of evenness, not actual evenness. So when someone says, how do I fade? And they're like, I put a guide. Look what happens when I put that guide across it. Did this not get lighter? Now that's not my fault. It's not because I messed up. But if I take this evenly across to try and create some symmetry, what I see happen is I get a light spot smack above the ear, because that's where his muscle is sticking out. You can see the light spot on this side, and it really stands out on this side. But I didn't adjust my lever. I left it where it is. This is where a novice or a beginning barber can get confused, get frustrated. They think they made a mistake. But the better you get, the more consistency that you're doing with your systems and your haircut, you begin to identify these areas and then avoid them. Because I have to create the illusion that it's blended. It may be shorter, but to everyone looking, it won't. And you guys just saw I evenly went across and I evenly went across, and this appears lighter anyway. Okay? So it's not a mistake. There's a reason that I generally don't fade this way. One of the main reasons I don't fade this way is because I'll run into issues like this, and then I have to be correcting the haircut. Okay? So now that I have my two guides, what I'm going to do here, and I want to show you how I'm going to do it, I'm going to take my outliner, and I'm going to go underneath. I'm not going to go the whole ways to the line. I'm about half of a finger space away from that line where I begin to flick away. So I'm not going to go right up to that line. Just going to slowly flick away right below that. And what that does is help make a smoother transition when I'm trying to remove that bottom skin line. If I go in and create a hard line like this, I'm going to create more work for myself. It's much more difficult to remove that line, and I don't want to do that. So now that I just done that, what I did is I made it softer for me to blend that bottom line out. I'm go ahead and continue to work my way around. The other thing that you want to think about is the amount of pressure that you're applying to someone's head. So, Dylan, question for you. How's my pressure? Good. When you say ear pressure, what do you mean?
Like how you hold the ear, not putting too much pressure on it.
Okay. But I'm in control.
Yeah.
So I'm moving it out the way because I need to get behind the ear. Don't be afraid to move the ear. It's your ear. It's not his anymore. What he wants is a nice haircut. He's not concerned, but I'm not yanking his ear. Okay? Again, I'm not going the whole ways up to the line. I'm only hitting a couple, a little bit below, about half of a finger distance between that bottom line and where I'm skinning it. So it's not perfect, but it's a little bit cleaner. It's going to make it easier for me to blend out. Now, most of you have seen it because you're watching YouTube and you're watching a lot of tutorials where people then begin to remove the bottom line and they begin to work their way up and they begin to fade going up. How many of you have seen that? Okay. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But I would challenge you to try a different method. So here's what we do know. We know that this is what? To the skin. We know that this is what? A 1 closed. Okay? It's about a finger length. We don't know what this is because we haven't cut it yet, right? So we know that we're also transitioning this into the top, and we don't want to cut a lot off because he had a haircut last week. We're just cleaning this up. Now, this is what I don't recommend if it's someone who's coming every week, resetting the cut, because then you're starting all over, okay? I'm going to keep emphasizing that because when you see the next haircut, how quick I'm going to be able to get through that haircut with the same exact system. But I want to show you the system in reverse with the guidelines in place. So now that we have the guidelines in place, you know that this is a 0. You know that this is a 1 close, a 1 guard on my clipper with the blade closed. We don't know what this is yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 3 on first. And I want you to look at it from this angle. Because right now, am I cutting any hair? How about now? Right. Because the cutting happens here, it doesn't happen here. All right? So I'm going to start like this first. Now, I know that this is not enough, but I'm showing you this for visual purposes. This isn't enough, so I'm going to slowly drop my clipper. Do you see this angle? I'm still not cutting any hair. So I went from a 90 to about a 45. Now I'm going to flatten this. What I'm doing is I'm visually looking to see if any of this hair right in here is going to be removed. The other thing I'm looking at is I'm listening to see if I'm cutting any hair. I'm using both of these senses to determine how much hair I want to cut off. And every time I begin to cut hair, I begin to move away. I don't cut and continue into the hair. I cut and I move away. So, again, 90, nothing's being cut. Drop it at a 45. Nothing's being cut. Drop it flat. Nothing's being cut. I'm going to close it all the way. I'm going to do my same method. 90. Nothing's being cut. 45. Nothing. Oh, there's a little bit happening now when I flatten it. And because I'm blending this into the top, I don't really need to cut too much off. Now that I've determined that this close is where I need to be, I can begin to go around and remove some of that bulkiness. Do you see what I just did? I'm going to go from my 2 to my 1.5, and I'm going to do the same exact steps. I'm going to go ahead and open it. I'm going to hold it at a 90. I'm going to stay away from this area. Anyone tell me why I'm staying away from this? Nope, not make more work. It's already what?
You got it.
Say it. It's pretty much already blended in. If I take a look at this, this is already blended into the top. So I don't really need to focus on this. Here, right in here is where it begins to get a little bit dark. So I want to hit that area first. I'm at a 45. If I go higher, I'm going to raise this to a 90. Work my way back. I'm going to drop my angle to a 45. And then I'm going to flatten it all the way. When I get back here, I'm flattening it more than I did up here. And the reason why is because of what? I'm not trying to get the line out. I'm going to slowly remove the line for sure, but I'm cutting above the line. In order to remove the line, you got to cut above the line, not below it. Because if I cut below it, I'll continue to chase the line up. So what I'm doing is removing the weight. The only reason that you see a line is because the hair underneath is shorter than the hair on top. So I have to remove the hair on top in order to blend it into that line. But I have to be careful, and I'm using it only in small spaces. The reason that I have it flat more back here than I do in the front is because it's more dense, meaning he has more hair, and it already appears darker. Do you see that? So my job is to make this area look like this area. Right now, this from here to here, it's darker. Do you see that? Okay. So I can go a little bit flatter. I'm gonna leave it flat. It's not being cut enough, so I'm gonna go ahead and close it. I'm gonna go back to my 90. I'm only focused on the area that I'm trying to blend. I'm going to 45. Now I'm flattening it. As I flatten it, Dylan, I'm sure you can kind of hear some of that hair being kind of popped off. You can hear it? Okay. A little bit of crunch. So now that I've went across that, I'm looking at it. Visually, this looks a little bit better. It looks almost even. It's still slightly dark right here. Do you see that? But is this second line slowly getting lighter? Okay. So the next guard I'm going down is to a 1. And I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to hold it at a 90. This area is darker, so I'm going to focus on this first. It's open. I'm holding it at a 90. So let me show you this way first. So you can see this is the angle of approach. You can hear it, right? You can hear the cut. So every time I'm popping it off, it's because I hear the cut happening. Then I'm slowly going to drop it. As I'm dropping it, I want you to look at where I'm at on his head. As I drop my angle, I also go lower, okay? So I'm cutting at a 90. I'll show you in a second. As I go to 45, you see how I went just slightly lower? Now I'm flattening it, and I'm even slightly lower. It's very minute. Do it again. 90, 45, flat. It still appears darker, but does it look better now than it did earlier? Yeah. Okay. So now I got to hit this area. But if you're paying attention, it's light here. It's very light here. Here's the dark area. If I'm looking, my clipper is wider than the area that I need to focus on. So I'm not going to use my entire clipper. I'm only going to use about a third of the clipper just in that area. And it's going to look like this. I am still going to do 90. I'm still going to do 45, and I'm still going to drop it. But that's how that's going to look in that area. 90, 45, flatten it out. It looks a little bit better. Now, does this look more even? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close it at a 90. I'm going to drop it to a 45. And then I'm going to flatten it. And I'm looking to see how that's coming along. It's gotten a lot better, but it's not completely gone. I can work my way up. I'm going to skip over the light area just to hit this dark spot over here. And I'm only using about a third of the blade. I'm not using the entire blade because if I do, this is going to get lighter and then I'll be working on my fade and taking the fade up again. Now when I'm looking at that, does it look better? The second line seems to be getting even lighter. Go ahead and close it all the way. At a 90. I'm always looking back at the mirror because I don't have a mirror. The screen is now my mirror, okay? But there's a few things that I'll do. Generally when I'm cutting, I won't move from one area. I will stay here the entire time when I'm cutting. My tools should be right here. I can grab and go, and I don't really have to move around. For the stage, I have to put them over here so that way I can spin the chair if need be. And I need to be in a position that you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. All I'm doing is making adjustments open and close, doing a 90, 45, and 0. 90, 45, and 0. 1, 2, and 3. Do y'all see what I was doing? Okay. Now that second line, does that second line look like it's going now? For the most part? Okay. So now I'm going to open this up. No guard. We know that we created this bottom guide how? With it closed. So now I'm going to use it open, and I'm going to do the same thing. Notice I didn't start over here. I'm still working my way here because this is already pretty much done. So I'm right here. And again, let me give you a different camera view. I'm using my umbrella as my quadrant. So if this is the apex, well it is, but if this is the area that I'm focused on, this umbrella is one quadrant. This umbrella is the next quadrant. So I'm only working on this quadrant because then I just have to match it from quadrant to quadrant to quadrant. So picture an umbrella, and that's what I'm focused on. Some people work the whole ways around, that's fine. But the way I'm doing it for you so that way we can stay on one area is breaking it down by quadrants. So open, no guard, at a 90, and now I'm in between the bottom line and this middle area that was our finger length apart. 90, 45. Did you hear it start to cut at 45? And then I'm going to flatten it out. And what I want you to look at is how that line begins to disappear. Do you see it slowly going away? So once you're on that bottom line, I generally cut all the way open or all the way closed because I get closer as I tilt. But on the bottom line, because the area that you're working on, that small, tiny little area, it's really, really small. If you don't make some minor adjustments, you could make major errors. So all the way open, flatten it out from my 45 down to flat or 0. I know I don't want to go higher up into this because this is already faded. I still want to focus on this area. So now I'm going to go one notch down. Did you hear the notch? Okay. There's one tiny little dark spot here, so I'm just using my corner. There's one tiny dark spot here, so I'm just using my corner. Let me try this real quick, see if I can show you this. So I want you to look at the angle in which I'm just using my corner. See how I'm away from his head with this side? I'm just using my corner and I'm not touching his head with the rest of the clipper. I'm only using about a third of the clipper. Okay? Now I don't recommend doing the entire fade with just using your corners because it will take a long time to get through the fade. This is more when you're fine tuning. Okay? And I'm just focusing on this bottom line. So back to flat, one notch down, one more notch. You don't really hear anything being cut, do you? One more notch, 90, 45, flat. You hear it? So he has an advantage as a barber student because he can actually hear. He can't see it because you guys are watching, right? But he can hear and feel what I'm doing, and in his mind, he can visualize it. So that's one of the advantages. Once I switch sides, he'll be able to see it from the screen's point of view. I'm going to work my way up. You guys see that line is going away. I'm all the way open. 45. Flat. One notch down. I'm only focusing on the dark areas. I'm not going all the way into the haircut. One more notch. And it looks like we're pretty much together now. Okay? So you guys can see that there's a tiny little dark spot right here. So I'm just going to use my corner because I'm not trying to cover a whole lot of ground. One more notch, use my corner. One more notch, use my corner. I'm going up, so I'm going to open my blade up. Whenever you're going up, you have to continue to open it up. So now when you take a look at that, there are no more lines in the fade. You can kind of see where the framework for the haircut was, but it doesn't look like this. Do you see the difference? Now, did I do anything that you think was difficult or challenging or hard? How about you, Mark? Did you notice anything I was doing there? No? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Hit that tiny little spot that I see. The other thing is when you're up on a haircut the whole time, you don't really get to see everything. That's why it's important to step back, just a little step back and kind of look. Also, when you're moving the chair and looking in the mirror, I'm looking at the fade as I'm turning it and then looking to my mirror because I'm looking at different shadows and different angles. If I see something, then I can go in and hit that area so that way it doesn't appear to have a line in it. The other thing I can do is I can go take my liner. Remember, I gave myself a little bit of wiggle room. I can go back in and tap any of those little areas that may have left a little bit of a weight without going into my fade. Right here, I can clean this up. Make that tighter. Okay. I don't think we have one up here. So, you guys can see the fade. Any questions on what we did for this fade here? He has his mid fade. It's dropping towards his occipital, and I didn't even really cut much up into the top so that way we can blend it into his top hair. You guys see that? All right. So the next thing I'm going to do, because I think she's about to give me this full shaver. Yes. Since you helped, I'm going to get you to come and help on this other side in a second. So hang tight. So before I do that, before I bring you up, I do want you to take a look at this right here. So this area right here, I want to blend this in. I'm going to use the same exact method. Right up top, I'm holding the clipper at a 90, and I'm just trying to lighten the hair up. I take a look at it, I slowly drop my angle, and I'm focusing on the top part. I'm not focusing on the bottom. Nothing's happening. I'm going to slowly notch it down, work my way down, another notch, work my way down, another notch, work my way down. Now I'm just going to use my corners, and now we just blended in his beard into his fade. Okay? I didn't go drastically into it. I could do a little bit more, like over here it's a little bit darker, so I could do almost like a point cut just using my corner. And now it looks even better. Another thing, when I am using my corners, it's as if I put a half guard on. Can anyone tell, I don't even have a half guard up here. Can anyone tell me what size their half guard is? By measurement. 1/16. So the space from this first blade here to the second blade is about 1/16. So whenever I'm tilting it, it's as if I'm putting a half guard on. And I don't need to put a half guard around the entire head. I just need to hit those areas that are a little bit dark. Okay? So before we go to we can go to the other side now. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to need a little bit of your help. So come on over here. Here's where I'm going to need you to stand. Okay. And we're going to take a look at what's happening here. So let me do this because I'm going to adjust this quick so that we can get a good view of his head. There we go. All right, perfect. Again, when you're looking at this, do you guys see that right in there? It seems pretty good, right? From here back is where that second line begins to happen. This already looks like it's already good blended into the top, right? You guys see that? So I don't really need to cut a whole lot in here. In fact, I'm not going to cut it. She's going to cut it. So go ahead and put a 3 on. Yep. And then what I want you to do, remember, the quadrant, we're not really focused on this. We're just going to focus from here back. Okay? So I want you to have it all the way open. Good. And we're going to start at a 90 first and work your way down.
Okay.
Now, I know you took your uniform on because you thought you was watching a demonstration. You're all right today. Go ahead. Remove that little bit of weight right there. Now, you're in the view. They can't see what you're doing.
Okay. So just.
It would be nice. White one. Oh, I left you up there by yourself. You got scared? I'm back. Go ahead. I knew that if you did that at 90, nothing's coming off.
So like.
Yes. So, nope. Straight out. Straight out. Yep, more like that. So get a little bit closer to him. A little bit closer to him. Bend your elbow a little bit. Does that feel more relaxing than you was doing this?
Yeah.
Okay. And then this part bends, doesn't it? Right? So I want you to tilt this, yep, and just use your fingers. How's that? Good? Okay. Good. So all I want you to do is try and flick a little bit of this off. Good. That's a good movement.
Okay.
Is anything being cut?
No.
No. So you're going to flatten it out a little bit. Oh, look at this. Man, look at this. Wow. Look at this. I'm going to help you out.
Thanks.
Yeah. Look at that, man. This is awesome. Good teamwork there. Cool. Now you look like something. So the importance of the white smock is it reflects light. Okay. The other thing is it's going to show some contrast between the dark hair and this. When you are looking in the mirror, for example, if this is my mirror, I can see the shape of his head behind this light colored jacket. Now, it says Premier, so I'm good to go. But if I didn't have this on, I would either have my white smock or I wouldn't have a black smock because the dark is not going to give me the contrast I need. Also, if I have something darker on, it's not going to reflect as much light. I want light to reflect from wherever it is off of me to it so I can see better. It's one of the main reasons we use white smocks. The other thing is, when it's dirty, you can tell. Because if you have a black smock on, you can't tell if it's dirty. So let's go ahead. Let's do that again. And so what we're going to do is at a 90, keep it tilted like this. We're going to just pop straight up. And here's what I want to do. I'm going to give you a little cheat code. You ready? Go ahead. So you're going to keep this tooth on that clipper.
Okay.
So here's what I want to see. As you're going up, you're going to maintain the shape of the comb. You're not going to go inside the comb. So keep this tooth on there and go straight up.
Okay.
Go ahead. Good.
But it's
Good.
not doing anything.
Okay, you felt that right there? As soon as you flattened it out, it went away. You seen that? Cool. We're going to go back further. Same thing. Okay, we're going to go back further. It's not doing anything? It did cut it over here though, right?
Yeah.
Good. Close it all the way. That's open. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. You hear that little bit of haircut? Just keep this one side on here so you maintain the shape. Good.
Okay.
Yep. Now move over. Go ahead. Go ahead. Guys, what I'm doing is I'm going off of the shape of his parietal ridge and the shape of the cut. Remember, the three things we're looking for is length, shape, and direction. Okay, stop for a second. Now, when you look at that, does it have as much weight? No, you took a little bit off. Does that look like it's already kind of blended into the top? Okay, so we didn't really cut much off, but you did cut some hair.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to leave this here. I want you to put your 2 on. And we're going to do the same exact thing.
This time open.
Always open. Always go back to open because it's going to elongate the blading and cut less hair off. We're not going as high now. So you want me to do it first and then show you?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's where we are. I'm looking at this area right here. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. I'm going to drop my angle just a little bit. Nothing. Oh, there it was. Flatten it. But what I'm doing, even though I'm stopping, I'm following the shape of the cut, as if my comb was there. Okay? Never going away from the shape of that. Do you think holding that comb there kind of helped to give you a visual?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now you're going to work your way around. You see where I'm at? Go ahead. So start here. Keep going. Don't dig into it. Go straight up. Yep. Good. Go back that way. Good. Keep going. Good. Good. So, good. We got a good blend. Close it all the way. You're going to do the same thing. We're not going to go as high. We're going to maintain the shape, but you're only going to work right in here. So it's going to be smaller little pops like that.
So like,
Yep. As soon as you hear it, you pull away. Very good. Yeah, as soon as you hear it, then, yep, good. I'm looking at you. I'm not even looking at what you're doing.
okay.
Good. Do it again. Okay? Now, when you're doing that, you want to make sure that you're coming out, maintaining shape. If not, and you're solely depending on the clipper being on the head, you're going to cut into it.
Okay.
Because his head is rounding in this way from his parietal ridge. So as soon as you hear that cut, you want to pull away. Okay? Let me go over this real quick, make sure we're good. We're good. We're good. Work your way around. It's closed. So what are you going to do if you close it?
Just go. Okay.
Well, what are you going to do if you close it?
A little bit lower.
You're gonna cut more.
You're going to go a little bit lower. You will cut a little bit more. You're going to go a little bit lower, but you should start it at how?
90 degrees.
So put it at a 90 first, and your hand put it at a 90. There you go.
Okay.
So once you get a little bit closer and you do like, there you go. That's more 90. Okay, go ahead. Get close to it. Good. Don't dig too much. Just pop it off as soon as you hear it. Good. Good.
Okay.
You feel that? Much better? Good. 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 Okay, work your way around the back. So we're going to turn his head like this. There you go. Go ahead. Work your way around. We're not cutting up into here at all. This is good. We're just focusing on the right in between. Yep. Work your way around. Good. Good. Not much is being cut, but you're getting the motion.
Yeah.
Put your 1.5 on. Take that off. Not bad. So here's a trick. This one right here is loose. So look what happens. If I touch this, it's going to pop right off. So I need you to keep your finger on this guard. If you don't keep your finger right here, he's going to have a pothole. And the whole school's going to know that you gave him a pothole. So you're going to keep your finger on this the whole time.
Okay.
Okay? All the way open at a 90. Look at how my hand is. It's almost like upside down. I'm not like this trying to do a 90. It's upside down. I'm using my fingers. My fingers I got more movement here than I do here. See, with my fingers, I can roll this thing the whole ways around. So my hand's almost like, how you doing? Holding the clipper, my fingers on the bottom of the guard, you see that? And all I'm doing is popping this at a 90. I'm using my fingers. This is not wrist action. Hair cutting is not wrist action. The more wrist action, Mark, you see what's going on over here? Okay. The more wrist action you do, the more tension you get here, and then a lot of cosmetologists get carpal tunnel because they're doing a lot of this. This is finger, phalanges. Okay? My hand is down like this. I've got the clipper in my hand, and all I'm doing is popping this using my thumb. Where do you think I built this movement from? Perm rotting. Builds all these muscles in my hands. It also builds the dexterity and the ability to control the tool so I'm not dropping it. How many of you drop stuff the first week? Right. After a week or two, you stop dropping stuff. Because all of these movements, you build finger dexterity. So let's go. Come on, talk and chew bubblegum. So we're going back to here. Ooh, look at you. That thing dangerous, huh? Mm-hmm. You good?
Yeah.
Okay, hand upside down. Look at that. Get closer to it. So we're not worried about the front here. We're focused right here, and all we're doing is popping this a little bit. Good. That's a good spot. Work your way around. I just want you, no, you ain't touching nothing now. Not bad. Nothing's really being cut. Close it. Come back to where we started. You hear it? A little bit. As soon as you hear that little crunch, just pop it away. The reason I show you that 90 method is so you can find your spot. Okay? And I'm going to explain to you why I need you to practice that more often when you're doing your fades, is because not everybody's head is shaped the same. No matter what clipper I'm showing you or teaching you from, they're not all set the same. And if you're trying to get a specific look, what will happen is if you're used to one clipper, that clipper breaks and you buy the new cool shiny thing and it doesn't cut the way you're used to cutting it, you'll say that the clipper sucks. And it's not that the clipper sucks, it just has a different approach. So if you use this method 90, 45, and 0, you're always going to find your sweet spot, always. And you'll determine, oh, this is where I need to work it. Notice my wrist is not bending. I'm using all these big muscles to move it. And when I need to fine tune it, I'm just using these muscles. Okay? Why are you stopping? Let's go. Close it all the way. Okay? And then work our way across. Keep going. That's good. That's good movement. Don't mess with my side. But if you need my side to help you blend it in, go ahead. Start working your way this way. Just take a look. And all you got to do is make sure this matches this, this matches this, this matches this. Not much happening?
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean you go higher.
Right.
That means you go lower and closer. Nothing's happening? No? Take it off. Put your one on. It's extremely important that you hold this at a 90.
Okay.
Or everyone in the school is going to know that you gave him a pothole. So go ahead, open it first. And we're just going to pop this little area right here and work our way around. Good. Very good. Very good. Do you slowly see that, guys out there? Can you see that wedge slowly coming off right there? You see that tiny, look, let me get out the way. Oops, go ahead, no, do your thing. You can see against that white wall, that wedge. Do you see it slowly coming off? Not bad. You're just too soft. Too soft?
It was fine by me.
But I'm saying she's softer than I was?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, that's just confidence. And I'm afraid. So let me show you real quick. 90. I'm working in this quadrant. Now I'm dropping the angle. You hear it? If I'm not looking. Okay? I'm listening. Listening with my ears. I'm looking with my ears. Close it. 90. Movement doesn't change. Okay?
Oh, it's gone.
Almost. You saw that?
Yep.
I was looking at you when it happened, so I didn't see it. Go ahead.
So do it.
Try it open first. Very good.
So.
Oh. See that? Y'all see that wedge, right? It's a tiny little wedge. It got softer, though. Keep going. You're too far away. Do you need to tilt his head down so you can see a little bit better? Did that help? We're not going that high. There we go. Good. So let me show you something else. Now look, that wedge is gone. Y'all see that? Get it again. So we're not going to do the whole thing. I want to focus on this down here to show you how to get this out the way.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take over with the rest of the cut so I can do the next one. Okay? So close it all the way. and then you're going to focus on this area between here and here. So we're not coming up here anymore. We're just lightening this right here.
This one right here.
Yep, right in there. It's not going to go away, but you're going to cut some. Flatten it.
Like that.
Good. Work your way. Yep, coming this way.
This way.
Yep. Go back that way. Okay, good. Close it the whole ways. 90, and then work your way down. Tilt it.
Like that.
Yep, very good. Doesn't it look like she's becoming more confident? You guys see that? Yep. Good. Very, very good. Good. You see it? Okay. I want you to take the guard off. Dun, dun, dun. Ho! Sanitize. Just sit it to the side. We'll get to it. So, open that all the way up, and we're going to do the same exact method, and you're only going to be working in this area. We're not going up here at all. We're staying below the finger, right above that line. So it's a very small spot. A little higher than that. 90 first, 90 first. That's 0. There you go. Nothing's happening? Then slowly flatten it. While you're cutting, slowly flatten it till you hear it. You hear it? Good. Flatten it a little bit more. So if this was the case, watch this. I want you guys to see what I'm doing right here. If this is the case, with no guard, I can go the whole ways up here. That was scary, huh? But this is why it's not scary. Because once I cut what I need to cut, I'm using the back of the clipper. Now you can see that I'm not even touching his head. To follow that shape. I can blend from here and go up into this. Okay? But why do that if I have all these cool little guards to kind of help me do that, right? So then, one notch down, you're going a little bit lower. All you're doing is tap, 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 tap. Good. Nothing's happening? One more notch down. There you go. Good. How's it looking? Does it look like you want it to look? We're going to get the class to ask, to decide. How's that looking? How about right here? See this? So from around his motor right about here. Do you see it? So just use your corners now in that area. Very good. Very good. Take a look at it, brush it. Take a look at it. How does it look? So right above that mo, no, you have a mo. Right above that mo is that tiny little line. Do you see it? Look in the mirror. You see it right there?
Yep.
That's what we focus on. So just tap it, just your corner. See it right there? Open it the whole ways. Okay? And then slowly start to flatten it until that thing goes away without cutting into the fade. Yep. Good. Take a look at it. Take a look at it. Better. Tap it a little bit more. Better. Go ahead. You ever do this before? No. How's she doing? Good. Okay? All right. You ready for me to take over now, or you want to keep going? Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good job. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move through this cut, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to move through this cut, but I'm going to continue my same method. Nothing's going to change. Because I don't know what she did, hypothetically, right? Where am I going to start? I don't know I have no idea what happened. And this is what happens. You're cutting, he says something like, what? Oh, yeah, I did see that. Oh, my goodness, blah, blah. And you get back into the cut and you forgot where you just were. Somebody calls, they're scheduling an appointment. You got to stop because you want your girlfriend's getting on your nerves and you're texting and you come back and you're like, where was I at? Right? So it happens. So I'm going to go back to the very beginning, point of origin. I started with a 3. So I'm going to take my 3. I'm just checking to see if there's any areas I missed, and I'm going to get back on track. So when you guys are sectioning your mannequins and you're doing your 0 degree cut, if you missed your guide, what do? You go back. You go back one more section, you go to look for it, and when you find it, then you cut. If you don't see it or you forgot where you were because you were distracted, you have to go back and check. All I'm doing is going back and checking. So now we got this 3 out the way. Everything's good. I'm going to close it, 90. Drop it. Right there, there's that weight. You guys see what I'm looking at? Okay. Go to my 1.5. I went from the 1.5, from the 3 right to the 1.5. Because I can make it a 2. By tilting it, by making it longer. You see that? I just turned the 1.5 into a 2 by cutting at a 90. Drop it. And what I'm looking to see is, does this look like this? 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 Okay? Work my way around. Close it all the way. Open it because I'm going a little bit higher. Close it all the way. Remember, we never cut anything in the front. We never cut this front. So you're going to see how it falls into place in a second. Remember, this is really, really light right here. So I'm starting from here and working my way back. I'm not even worried about the front right now. So from right here, 90. Drop the angle, 45. Close it, 90. This tiny little dark spot right there. Avoid this area because he has another muscle right here. Work around it. Open it all the way up to get this little dark spot. Looks a lot better now. Come over here, keep working my way around. Close it. This quadrant is all I'm looking at right now. No guard, 90, flatten it. Do you see it slowly going away? Open it up. Take a look. Bottom's looking pretty good. Work my way around, 90. Drop. Flatten it out. The key to doing this is to remember where you were just cutting. I don't need to cut up in here. It's already blended to the top. I just need to blend from where I just finished into where I'm going. So I'm only hitting this little area right here. Not going up into the fade. And the reason this spot right here looks light is because it's darker above it. It's also darker below it. Once I remove this little darkness here, it'll blend into itself. Little corner right there. 1/16. It's a 1/16 because of the angle I'm using. So I didn't have to put a guard on. I just tilt it. Flat right there. Notch it. Work my way down. Notch it. Work my way down. See the line going away? All the way open because I'm going a little bit higher. So the one thing is, teaching you steps 1, 2, 3, and kind of creating a 1, 2, 3 method is good, like having the guide in step 1 and step 2, step 3. No matter what, the head's not a flat surface. So that's where you get these light spots. It's not flat, so then you have to figure it out along the way. You're always figuring it out. If I say, do this, and do this, and you do it, every person is going to get a different result. It's not going to be the same. You'll begin to figure it out the more repetitious you are with the haircuts. More cuts you do, the better you become. The more you do, the better your guesses get. And we'll talk about guessing in a second. So remind me to talk about guessing. Coming together? It's about time. Okay, good. So this haircut, you'll see when I do the next one, doesn't really take me that long to do. So I still didn't clean underneath here, and I got to get past this light spot and work on this, but this already kind of looks faded right in there. You see that? So the only spot I'm really focused on is this tiny little dark spot right here, and then this little dark spot right here. You see them? All right. Just using my corner. Just using my corner. One notch. Using my corner. Does anyone remember what I said last week about the amount of pressure that I'm putting on his head? Anyone? Say that again? Correct. I'm using the pressure of the blade and not the clipper. He doesn't feel my whole elbow in the side of his head. He doesn't even feel the weight of the entire clipper. He only feels the blade. You see how that blended in? Those two dark spots I was focused on, I never cut over here. I didn't do anything here. Now this looks like this. Now I can focus on this really tiny little bottom spot right here. I used an example last week about painting. Can anyone remind me what I was talking about when I was talking about painting? Anybody? You should know. You was all in my ear. They ain't that loud. He's over here lying. Because you heard him from all the way over here with the clipper in your ear, literally. So if you've ever painted a room, right, you don't perfect the wall as you're going along. You don't paint the entire room 12 inches at a time and making it perfect. You don't. You cut the room by putting a frame of paint around that wall. Once you cut it's called cutting the wall. Once you cut those corners, you can tape it off. Some people are really good. They just kind of tape it, and they don't need to tape. They can just cut it with the brush. Once you cut that out, you're basically framing out the wall with paint. Then you go right in and you begin to give your first coat. You're just going over the entire wall in that space, and you let it dry. Am I right? I know you did construction.
That's very important.
Why is that important?
Because it's still wet, so even if you go to give it that second coat, you really ain't doing nothing.
You're moving the paint around in some cases. It's not adhering to the wall.
Some places might mess the whole wall up.
Because it smears. And then you have light spots, you have dark spots, you have more saturation in one area than another. That's what he did as a profession. I also took construction as a kid, and I understood this. I took painting, I took construction and carpentry and masonry. So you cut the wall, you give your first coat of paint, you let it dry, you move on to another area, and once it's dry, you come back and you give it your second coat. That first coat is dry, it's adhering to the wall where it needs to, and any of those little spots that didn't get paint is now going to get paint because it can stick to it. Sometimes you need a third coat. It depends on what your base coat. Now the technology in paint is so much better than what it was many years ago. However, I'm using this analogy and this example because if you try to perfect the cut the whole way through, you're going to spend 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half on it. If you're trying to perfect the wall, you're going to spend all day long trying to paint one wall, and it's not going to be right. You spend way too much time. You're not as efficient with your time and your tools. Rough the haircut out, go through the haircut, then come back. Your second coat is the fine tuning. Does that make sense? Okay? So I'm going in, no guard, hitting right above that light spot for that one tiny little dark spot sticking out right there. Skipping over that one little. All I'm doing is fine tuning, and what I'm looking for is dark spots. Avoiding light spots, cutting over dark spots. Question?
No, I just have to say, like, I've actually worked as a carpenter, but the way that you just described, you're talking to before I came to here, but the way that you just described that made that click in my mind in a way that's never clicked before.
Even when you were painting?
Yeah, like.
Well, that's good. Yeah, you gotta rough it out first. And I can only draw from that because I've actually done it. You know, I painted a room. And my supervisor was like, bro, you've been painting all day long. I'm like, oh, it's messed up. He's like, no. He made me do another wall, and he broke it down. He said, do this, get this out the way, come back to it, do this one. And we were painting an entire warehouse, actually. So I learned that process, and I was more efficient, and I actually used less paint. Okay, you use less paint when you do that. So what would be the paint in what we're doing right now? If you was to say which one is which, I'm using less paint on the wall when I'm doing it better and doing it correctly. What would be equivalent to paint? No, because we're not putting anything on him. We're actually removing. With paint, you're putting something on. I'm just using how you would frame the room and be efficient with your tools. So what would be equivalent to the paint? What am I saving? Time. It's time. I'll rough through it, and I'm not using a lot of product or a lot of my time. Okay, so that's the difference. Not even the first side, huh? The framework of it in general. So now that our fade is in place, let me finish up, follow up with this liner, because I want to get through the rest of this cut and then finish my next one. You can tell the Willoughby brother to come on up. Find the shorter one. He knows he's getting a haircut. Okay, that's fine. Then I can spend a little bit more time on it. Just let him find out how much longer he's going to be, so I can know how much more time I need to put on this. So the lines are gone, the fade is in there, and can you tell that two people cut this? No. Nah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did majority of this. She did majority of this right here. I just kind of followed up and fine-tuned it. But the cut is in there. So one other thing that happens is you guys buy these things because they're really cool and it makes it closer.